As dads, some days we feel like we have all the answers, and some days we feel like we don't have a clue. If that describes you, you're at the right place. This is the All Pro Dad Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Ted Lowe, and each week on All Pro Dad, we ask just one question. We talk about what we've gotten wrong mostly, and occasionally we talk about what we've gotten right. We talk about what the experts say, and at the end, of every episode, we give you just one simple but powerful pro move of the week. And today I'm so excited. I'm always excited, you guys, about this podcast, but today I'm maybe a little extra excited. I've got Mr. Mark Merrill, the founder of Family First, and legendary football coach Tony Dungy, and also All Pro Dad spokesman. So you guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Great to be with you, Ted.
Well, and once again, I said on the other episode, I finally have respect from my father-in-law, the football coach, and my sons. So this is just such a personal win. No, thanks you guys for being a part.
Thanks.
We'll just dive in. But first, I'd love it if you guys tell a little bit about how you guys met and started all of this.
Well, I tell you, it happened in basically the end of 1997. It was my second year with the Buccaneers. We were having some success on the field. We're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. We're going to make the playoffs. We've got packed houses now, and it's just things are going great in the football world. But in our staff meetings, my guys, my coaching staff, we'd always talk about, gosh, we're spending so much time at work, and this is fun, and this is awesome, but we're not doing as good a job with our families as we have in the past, and maybe as our dads did with us. And what can we do? And one of the coaches knew Mark and said, well, there's a guy that we may be able to get some tips from. So we came over to the offices, brought most of our staff with us, and talked for half the morning about how we could connect better with our kids. Mark gave us some really good tips. And then he said something that kind of changed the course of things for us. He said, you know what? You football coaches aren't the only ones that have these issues. There's a whole lot of other men going through the same thing. And maybe you could help us get the word out. So that's how All Pro Dad started. We said, hey, it takes a lot of work, determination to be an all pro football player. It takes the same type of work and energy to be an all pro dad, and things clicked from there.
You know, I'll never forget that time when we first met and Clyde Christensen introducing us there. And speaking of, our topic today is a little bit about the unexpected. And that was unexpected surprise. And it's really changed the trajectory of what we do here at Family First since that first meeting in 1997. I'll never forget, as we were finishing up the meeting, Tony, I was talking to Tony about being more involved in the fatherhood work that we were doing. And I'll never forget it. We were finishing up, and Tony says, oops, I got to go. I was like, oh, okay. He's a coach. He's got busy work to do. And he goes, I've got to go. I've got to go do carpool, pick up my kids from school. And at that moment, I knew this is the guy. This is the guy that we want to help us lead to All Pro Dad.
Then you talk about unexpected moments. We were kind of brainstorming what could we do to, kick this thing off or get some energy. And we said, why don't we invite dads to come out to watch us practice, and we'll do some things and maybe have some announcements afterwards and talk about ways to be a better dad. So we advertised it, thought we'd get 250, 300 people. Maybe it'd be a nice afternoon, evening. We ended up getting 4,000 people come out, dads and kids, and it was awesome. It was the first one of our really father and kids experiences, and it was great, but definitely unexpected.
And Tony, do you realize that just 2 Saturdays ago, we celebrated our 130th All Pro Dad experience with NFL and college teams? We had our event with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Coach Peterson, at the stadium up there, and it was awesome. So those events have proved to be quite amazing and very impactful.
So sometimes unexpected things are real winners.
That's it. And so in our show notes, if you're going, what are these experiences, guys? You're going to see these experiences happening all over the country. It is amazing. And I love that. That's a great transition into our question of the week, which is, how do I help my kids handle the unexpected? Because the dads listening, they're either in the middle of something unexpected, they've just gotten out of something unexpected, or they're heading that way. And I'm talking about life things when life happens. Things like we have to change a job. How do we talk about that with our kids? What are some things that you guys that have gone through, maybe share a personal story there where you've had to deal with the unexpected and still keep trying to really love your kids.
I'll go back to whenever I deal with it with my kids, I go back to my dad. And my dad was probably the most even-keeled, patient guy you would ever meet. And when I'd come home with just tragic things going on, they demoted me to second string. My life's over. Whatever it was like that, my dad would listen. And then he'd say, okay, got it. But what are you going to do to make it better? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to make the situation better? And it didn't matter what happened, and I visualize him as a parent when things go wrong or things are different or my kids are going to experience something a little bit off for them. Yeah, let them verbalize everything, let them get their feelings out, and then what are we going to do to make it better? I can give you an incident that happened to me not too long ago. We were broadcasting a game in Jacksonville, and I never pack heavy. I take a duffel bag. I don't want to check luggage. So I usually have a duffel bag with all my clothes and everything. My son, Jalen, came with me. I'm going to take him on this trip. So we're in the security line. He's got a bottle of hair gel in my bag, so it won't go through the security. So you can either throw this away. Oh, I can't throw my hair gel away. Oh, no, Dad, that costs $15. So I check it. We go back. We check the bag. Okay, we fly to Jacksonville. We get off, and they've lost the luggage. They lost the bag. So now I'm in Jacksonville. I'm going to be there a whole weekend. I've got a jogging suit, and that's it. I've got nothing else. And I was so upset, but I said, okay, what am I going to do to make the situation better? If I yell at Jalen, well, if it hadn't been for your hair gel, I'd have, so now we'll get this worked out. It doesn't matter. Hey, if Dad goes to a meeting in a jogging suit and then I go to a meeting the next day in the same jogging suit, we can get through it. The world's not going to come to an end. Do I want to buy some clothes here that I'm just going to be, let's think this through. But having that same type of patience and just saying, we can't get upset about the unexpected. We've got to try to deal with it and see what we can do that's going to be best down the road.
So what really resonates there for me, Tony, and what you said is it's really how we respond to the unexpected, which is absolutely critical. That really speaks volumes for who we are as men, who we are as fathers, and that speaks volumes to our kids. And so what I heard you say is something that I think about what to expect when the unexpected comes, and that is that don't react. The one variable that we can control is ourselves. And I always have to remember that I control my emotions. My emotions don't control me. And so I heard what you said is exactly that same thing. It's like, okay, you stopped and you paused and you said, okay, how am I going to respond to this? And you did it the right way and showed him by example that this was okay. We're going to make it through this. And we're going to make it better.
And, from my dad, what are you going to do to make the situation better? And then from my mom, she would always say, well, the first thing you can always do to make a situation better is pray about it. So if I take both of those together, and before I get upset or before I get all frazzled about a situation, let me stop. Let me think about what I can do. Let me pray about it, and then let that response come. And when I take them in that order, it usually is pretty good. When I respond first, act on it, don't think about what's going to make it better. And then I have to pray even more after I've kind of messed it up.
Yeah, and I think that is really critical for us to not only show our kids, but teach our kids is the power of prayer. The prayer of a righteous man, God says, is powerful and what? Effective. And so that's what we're saying is that, hey, this is unexpected. This is out of our control, losing that illustrious hair gel and losing all your luggage. But you know what? God is in control always, and he knows all things and oversees all things. And he's going to work this together for our good.
Mark, understand that you and Susan went through something with your kids. Something went on with your home that was unexpected. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, and it's just it's a home, but it's our home, and I never forget it. I was sitting at the Family First offices one afternoon and got an important call, and it was the fire and rescue department down near our house, and they said, "Is this Mr. Merrill?" I said, "Yes, this is Sergeant so-and-so, and we're at your house." And there is water pouring out the door. And one of my kids was at home, and so they were able to open the door and let them in. And there was water cascading not only out the door, but down the stairs. And what had happened, it was June 1st, I'll never forget it, in 2011, and a freak thunderstorm came about. Roofers had been repairing our roof, and all of the roofing was off, and they didn't get the tarp on quickly enough. And so this freak storm came in. Downpour, and if you live in the state of Florida, you know what a downpour is like. And it came straight through this 100-year-old home that we are in and really destroyed it completely. And so that was certainly unexpected. And so we had to walk through that challenge. And again, just like anything that's unexpected, it's not fun when you're going through it, but then you can look in hindsight and have more of God's perspective in why this came to pass and what happened. And so I learned some things about how to walk through unexpected things.
How did you walk through this with your kids going, hey, our house has just been destroyed? How did you help them there?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I did help them to recognize, and I had to say it to myself, this is just another material thing. We're not going to take it with us. God will work it out. It's going to be rebuilt. We'll put it back together. That's not a concern. So let's make sure that we enjoy the ride. We can either ride the roller coaster with our hands clenched to the safety bar, or we can ride it with our hands up in the air and enjoy the ride. And I'm not suggesting all the ride was fun and glorious, but what I can say is that we walked through it. We said, hey, let's make this fun. Insurance covered it. We're able to go stay somewhere else for a year in this fun apartment.
For a year.
But it's this fun apartment on the water. And we were like, this is awesome. And we had a great time, and it was like a year-long vacation and camp out. And so it was just making fun out of something that could have been really challenging.
That's good.
And I think one of the things we've learned is that most of the unexpected things end up having really great results when you're able to look back on it. But that doesn't help you during the moment, because in the moment it's kind of that panic mode, and it's, how's this going to work out? What's going on? We're disrupted. But then you have to sit there and think, well, gosh, these last 3 or 4, they started out the same way, but they turned out great. Yeah, we got fired, and it was awful and was unexpected. And our life turned upside down. But then we got another job in Indianapolis, and we went to the Super Bowl. So it wasn't that bad. It turned out okay. And usually God does have them turn out okay if we can hang in there.
What do those conversations look like with your kids? Because I think that most dads are going to have a period where maybe they've lost a job, they're changing a job, kids are changing schools. How do we help them handle that? Like, how do you present that to them? Because I don't know about you guys, I always feel like my wife and I are always having these conversations before we walk out and give the calm, hey, listen, guys. When in the reality, our conversation is going, wow, this is kind of crazy. How are we going to handle this? So how do you guys handle those conversations with kids?
It is tough. It is a challenge. This is going to be difficult. We didn't expect this. We may not be ready for it. But you know what? We can get through it. We've got to look down the road, persevere, and you do have to try to have that calming influence even when you aren't necessarily calm. But getting them to look down the road and say, we've been through some of these things before. God's always brought us through, and we're going to be okay. And just be that calming voice.
That really resonates with me, Tony, because when I think about it and think about this flood that we went through and so many other things that we all go through in life, what came to my mind is, kids, we're prepared for this. Yeah. And you go, well, how can you be prepared for something you didn't expect? And the preparation is very important. It's what Tony talked about before. It's that praying continually in our lives, and that relying on the promises of God. So it's the two P's, right? Praying and promises, and that God is with us, God is for us, God wants what's best for us, and God will see us through. And that's what we have to really share with our kids and help them to understand that that's how we can prepare for the unexpected in every unexpected situation. God's with us, God's for us, God wants what's best for us, and God will see us through. And so that's something that we talk about and how we can prepare for the unexpected.
I'm laughing because you sound just like my mom. That's what she would say. She'd always use the example of the disciples in the boat during the storm. Something bad would happen, and if we were by ourselves, this would be a problem. But we're not by ourselves. God's with us, so Jesus is with us. We don't have to worry, and that is so true. If you think about it that way, it's raining, it's storming. We didn't expect this storm to come. But we're going to be okay because we got someone with us. Yeah,
and we can trust him because he is always perfectly trustworthy. And we know that he works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose.
I love that. It's not lost on me that you guys are talking a lot about your dads. Both of you talk about your dads and my mom. And I just think that there's a generational impact as dads are listening right now to say, hey, my kids are going to parent a lot like I'm parenting. And when I hear you're talking about my dad was really calm, that's one of the things that people say about you so much, Coach. It's the calm, it's the calm under fire. It's calm under fire. I'm not sure that's the phrase, but it's calm in the storm. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is so powerful generationally.
It really is. And, I was young when my grandfather passed away, but I'm sure he was the same way, and that my dad got it from him. And those are the things I will say this, not that you hope to pass on. Those are the things you are going to pass on. No matter how you do it, your kids are going to look and they're going to do what you do, and what they see, they're going to think that is the way to do it. And I am so thankful that I had my dad in my life, and I do emulate him, and I do say, I don't know, millions of times, well, my dad used to say this, my dad used to do this. And my players with the Buccaneers and the Colts, they'd always feel like I knew that my dad would come to practice, hey, I know you because your son talks about you all the time. That's the way you want it.
And that makes me think of my dad and what an awesome dad he was. And I always knew how much he loved us because he told us all the time, you're my son and I love you. And I knew he loved us more than life. And so that was so important for us to know that.
But you, as fathers out there, the way you handle things, that's not lost on your kids. We can talk about what they should do in unexpected times, but when they see you and how you react to it, that's going to be a big, big factor in how they respond.
Yeah.
What are some things, Coach Dungy, that you've done as a coach that are principles on the field that you apply with your kids in terms of unexpected?
I think it is demonstrating that calmness in the unexpected time. Hey, you get a bad call on the field, they call a penalty on you. Okay, you can go off and go berserk and just be all over the referee. It's not going to help. It's not going to change things. But when your team sees you just move on to the next play and say, we're going to overcome this and not worry about it, then that's what they take on. And they are going to reflect you. So for me, it was always looking to the next play, making sure we respond accordingly, and don't get overreactive to things that happen that are out of your control. Yes, we adjust to them, we adapt. Okay, now we've got to make 25 yards for a first down instead of 10, but we can still do it, and we're going to call the next play.
And I think I hear that theme resonating over and over again, is that you control your emotions don't control you. It really is a matter of discipline and being self-disciplined and self-controlled when those challenging times come. It's easy to be self-controlled when there's not challenges or difficulty. The hard part is not reacting, not saying things that you'd later regret, but being self-controlled, pausing, being prayerful, thinking about it, and then responding after that. Yeah, so critical. But you know what came to my mind, and I'll do a little commercial break, even though I have no commercials in this podcast. And that would be, what came to my mind as Tony was talking, as I was talking, we were blessed with good dads. But there are a lot of kids out there, a lot of dads that are listening that didn't have that kind of example for themselves. So they're trying to find their way on this journey. And we've got a lot of tools in the proverbial toolkit on our website at allprodad.com, our social media, this podcast, hopefully. And we're going to hopefully be a guide by your side to walk with you so that you can be the best dad that you can be, so that you can strive towards that goal day in and day out, yard by yard, towards the goal of becoming an all-pro dad.
I love that. And that's one of the reasons that when he joined this team, is just looking how clear and clean the vision is of that, about how you guys want to help dads through experiences, but also chapters in school and giving them experiences. Here's how we talk with a dad. And I think about you guys, for some of us who didn't have the model of calm, or, hey, this is the person I can go to. And not only are they going to be calm, they're going to settle me down. And we kind of pick up the ball that, dad's playing with us. If he's anxious and he's loud, we're going to pick that up. So just such a great point, Mark. I'm so excited you pointed that out. And people can go to allprodad.com to check that out.
And it is so important. I think that's one of the things that we are missing in our society, in our country today, is that role model, that leader of the home and the family. And I just think of the sports analogy. What would football teams look like with no coach? The talented people there, a lot of guys on the team with great energy and purpose, and they want to win. But if they don't have a head coach, it's hard to keep everybody going in the same direction, and there's no example. And so you might have a talented team, but you're never going to succeed or play to your best as you would when you have that coach there. And that's what a dad is.
That's so good. And I think that's a great transition into the thing we try to do every episode on the podcast, is that to give listeners a pro move of the week. So based on what you guys just said, what's a pro move that you could give a dad that you say, hey, he could practice this week?
For me, it would be in that unexpected moment or that difficult situation to really pause and think about your reaction. Think about what your reaction is going to say to your family, and then respond.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow it up and with the pause that we talked about, controlling your emotions. Your emotions don't control you. Praying without ceasing, as we talked about, the prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective. Remembering the promises of God, that He's with us, He's for us, He'll see us through. And then finally, I think, just as Tony was talking about, pursuing the next right thing, pursuing making it better, even through the unexpected.
I love this. Thanks, you guys. This has been very encouraging for me. Tony, just sitting close to you calms me down as a dad. I'm kind of high strung. So, Mark, you model high strung, but in a very calm way. You and I have to work a little harder for that, but you do that every time. So thank you for that too. And thank you, all of you, for listening. We hope today has helped you to be an all-pro dad. Thanks for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the All Pro Dad Play of the Day, by going to allprodad.com/subscribe and get daily powerful and practical fatherhood tips in your inbox. The All Pro Dad podcast is hosted by me, Ted Lowe, produced by Bobby Lewis.